we are going to show the simplicity of the iMRS, the OMNIUM PEMF, and teach you today on this webinar how you can answer any type of health question, health objective with these three simple steps. And what I wanted to do was to empower everyone that no matter if they're asking about what to do after a hip surgery, or if they are asking that they're suffering from the condition of fibromyalgia or Parkinson's, how do I use this? If they are using it for anxiety or sleep, there's one simple question that will answer all of those and provide the user the protocols, the magnetic field parameters in which to use. There's really three simple steps for success. And if you accomplish these steps, which are very, very simple, all the benefits that you read about PMF are able to take place, because all the benefits of PMF are achieved through PMF's mechanism of action, which is induction, resident, and with the hybrid mode, radiant transfer. So if you are able to achieve biological resonance, induction, and radiant transfer, the health benefits, your health objectives are able to be met. And I'm going to show you how simple this is and how you can help everyone just by focusing on three simple steps. First thing, you should always review the contraindications with people. This will provide you the information on whether or not this person is able to do the PMF session. So the contraindications are not during pregnancy, in case of epilepsy. And when you're asking the manufacturer, you're asking us, anything that involves a person, whether they've had epilepsy in their past, whether they have it currently, whether they are told that they are not prone to epileptic seizures anymore, we should always say, no, you are not able to use the iMRS or the Omni or any PMF system at this time, because epilepsy, whether it was current, in the past, in the future, or you may be prone to it, you are not allowed to use it. And that is just period. So the first thing, if someone says to you, I'm pregnant, I have epilepsy, I have an implantable hearing aid, your answer should be no, you are not able to use this device. There's other areas where you should also review in case of some types of tumors and illnesses and serious cardiac arrhythmia, acute attacks of hyperthyroidism, in the case of oversensitivity to electromagnetic radiation. So these are some areas in which you should review to make sure that this person is qualified in order to do the iMRS therapy with the Prime or the OMNIUM1. So it is utmost important that you always review the contraindications. And if there's any type of electrical implant or electrical device that an individual is using and it is not able to be removed, then they are not allowed to use the device, period. So anything with epilepsy, pregnancy, electrical implants, you don't even need to question it. The answer is no. I wanted to review that because it is utmost important. And other manufacturers and distributors have shied away from the contraindications. And then they had some FDA corrections to work through, and we do not want to go down that path. And I've been receiving some questions in regards to whether you can use it with epilepsy. Someone had epilepsy when they were a child. Again, anytime you say the word epilepsy and you're asking me if you can use the device, the answer is no. Also, it's good to review just some side effects. And these are also some questions that during these case studies with the iMRS Prime full service support, these are some case studies and questions that are coming up that we're reviewing. This is why we always say slow and steady wins the race, because if you are utilizing with a higher intensity than what is appropriate for a first-time user getting acclimated it, there can be healing reactions or detoxing reactions because the metabolic processes are increasing within the body, and this could have some types of healing reaction. A lot of pain individuals will sometimes get an increased sensation of pain before it gets better. This has been attributed to increased circulation in the area that has the pain signals. So 10% of the patients treated in the first days, weeks of treatment through an increase of symptoms. So that's always good to keep in mind that 10% of individuals, whether it be some type of supplement you're taking, or whether it is just that maybe you have some type of heavy metal poisoning or detoxing that a medical professional had told you about, it is always good to do it consistently and slowly. And the best thing is these devices are in your home, so you have a whole entire lifetime with PEMF. There's no need to rush. The second area is just some warnings and precautions I wanted to review because these questions are also coming up. So if you're cleaning it, make sure you unplug it. Do not put your mat on any type of surface that could damage it, such as a bed that is not firm enough to support a whole body mat. Definitely avoid moisture. So if you're thinking about using it outside, just make sure it is not a humid day or a rainy day or a cold day for that matter. So you always want to just make sure you're in the proper area when you're utilizing your device. And if an individual suffers from dizziness, you always want to advise them that it's good to take a couple deep breaths and relax a moment before you get up from the whole body mat, because you're moving things around, you're stimulating circulation. Sometimes people need to adjust themselves, get themselves ready before they get into a standing position. So I just wanted to review these areas because we are going to be talking about health objectives. And before you get into a talk about health objectives, you should always review warnings and precautions and utmost important contraindications. And unless you're a medical doctor, you should always answer no if one of those three contraindications is asked of you: epilepsy, pregnancy, electrical implants. No, no, no. The great thing about the iMRS Prime and the OMNIUM is Wolfgang, the inventor, has made this so incredibly simple. And sometimes we really sabotage ourselves by putting complexity into this. And these three questions, these three steps, in order to achieve your health objectives, are all about the simplicity. And this is the utmost important in why everybody who is able to can achieve health benefits no matter what your benefits are. And we're going to give some examples, some of these case studies from the full service support that we've been doing, and show you how they are able to meet their objectives and what their objectives were and how these were formulated. So the first thing is always good is somebody says, how does what is the iMRS Prime or the OMNIUM used for? That question is always in the operator's guides and can be answered with the intended use. How does that work? How does the PMF work? It is always answered easy: the essential performance characteristics of the iMRS Prime. This is what the intended use of this device is, and this is how it works. And 4 is, these are the benefits. These are the possible areas of applications, indications. And again, this is only guidance, but some examples are to promote bone healing. In the case of bone fracture, to reduce the sensation of pain from diseases of the locomotor system, for improved wound healing, otherwise known as regeneration, for improved peripheral microcirculation. So these are some areas that are possible applications, indications for the use of PMF and the iMRS prime and or the OMNIUM. So when somebody asks you about how does the PMF work, this is your simple answer. What is the intended use? What's the purpose of it? It is all right here. And if you are able to follow these 3 simple steps, all these possible areas of applications and indications are possible. And the beauty, the magic of PMF working with energy is that all of them happen at the same time. It is not that I'm using it and I'm only promoting bone healing, or I'm using it and I'm only doing improved wound healing. The PMF doesn't know what your possible area of application is. It is doing all of them for you simultaneously. And that is why I am really focusing on mitigating aging. Aging brings various chronic diseases, and most of them begin to initiate by the hindrance of one of these processes, which are the possible areas of application. So if you can focus on maintaining, on stabilizing with the consistent use of PMF, all these possible benefits are possible. And it is happening all at the same time. You may be intrigued with PMF, with the iMRS prime, with the OMNIUM, because let's say that you are recovering from hip surgery and you hear PMF since 1970s has been approved to help bone healing. So what do you do? And this will be one of our case samples, our case examples here. One thing you need to know, you do not need perfection. There is no perfect magnetic field parameter. There's no perfect intensity. There's no perfect frequency spectrum. So there's no need to ask, what intensity did you do? What frequencies are you using? There's no need for that, because you do not need perfection with the iMRS prime and the OMNIUM. The only thing you need is consistency. So if somebody says to you, these are my health objectives, and I want to purchase the iMRS prime, how will I achieve these health objectives? The simple, easy answer is through consistent use. Anybody who is not achieving the health benefits that are possible through the iMRS prime, the OMNIUM, PMF in general, is generally because they are not using it consistently enough. And to go back to that case study in regards to the example of someone recovering from a hip surgery, the bone stimulators, where if you have a non-union bone fracture, you are required to utilize that device for up to minimum 4 hours a day. So if you are really looking to regenerate bone, heal bone, you can review the research and it gives you a projected timeline. It gives you a projected protocol, all in relation to consistency. Because if you utilize the device consistently from a 4 to 6 week timeline, you have met the requirements to achieve all of these health benefits, all of your health objectives, because you're working with physics, you're working with induction, resonance, and radiant transfer. And if you are able to achieve through PMF, far infrared, brainwave entrainment, you're able to achieve induction, resonance, and radiant transfer in the body, you are able to achieve all of those benefits. So really, it is not about healing a bone on our scope of practice. It is really about making sure we have produced biological induction, resonance, and radiant transfer, because we are all energetic beings more than we are physical. So, and to give you an example, without induction, resonant, and radiant transfer, your potentials begin to weaken. And your action potentials from your cells, these action potentials are the spark of life. And when your spark of life diminishes, when you have no more action potentials, that is synonymous with death. That is how you die. Your sparks begin to diminish. So you can see how utilizing it consistently, maintaining those sparks within the body, keeping them at higher levels through the aging process is going to slow the aging down, because aging is factored by gravity. So there is a huge physics component to how you age, whether you age well or whether you don't age well. And you always see people say, oh, they had such a great attitude. Look at them. You would never know how old they are. It's because their energy, their frequency is at a higher level, and they are aging a more gracefully pace than other people who are not managing their energy. So what you need to know is consistency. And from our case study, from our example, if you're working with, say, for example, someone who is recovering from a hip surgery, there's only one thing they need to know: consistency. And I need to hit a 3 to 4 hour target every day for a 4 to 6 week timeline. That means you do your whole body mat, and then you sit down and you watch a Netflix movie, or you research on the internet, and you put the pillow pad or the spot and you put it on for 45 minutes. And that is what you do. And you do that consistently for 4 to 6 weeks. And that is just a basic protocol when you're dealing with any type of bone health. You need to put some time into it. And you can think of it like this. I always say we are doing biological renovations. And through biological renovations, it's a construction zone. So if you are trying to heal bone or improve bone health, you basically have a construction site. Your bone is being remodeled, osteoclast, osteoblast. So basically what that means is that dump trucks go in with new material and dump trucks go out with old material. And you need to have a balanced in and out, in and out. And as anyone knows who's watched a high rise or a home in their development being built, it takes time. You have supplies go in, supplies go out, supplies go in, supplies go out. So if you're working on improving bone health, whether that be healing fractures, recovering from hip surgeries, maybe somebody told you that you could have a propensity for osteoporosis, there's only one thing you need to know. If you would like to achieve benefits from PMF, consistency, that's it. Consistency, and a good guideline is a minimum of 4 hours a day and a 4 to 6 week timeline. And you need to be consistent. You do not need the perfect intensity, frequency, or any magnetic field parameter for that matter, because you will achieve benefits with consistency. And that is a time-old trade. If you want to improve your golf, consistent practice. You want to improve baseball, consistent practice. You want to be a better driver, consistent practice. You want to build better bone, you need consistency. So the first step is whatever a person brings up their health objective is consistent use. Are they prepared to use that device consistently for 4 to 6 weeks? And if people aren't receiving the benefits that they're intended, it generally means they're not using it enough. What does this consistency provide? And you could think, time is part of the healing equation. It took time for your disease, for your symptoms to manifest. And now it's going to take time to get those symptoms, to get the body to heal. And I always look to nature. As a naturopath, all the answers in life are in nature. So if you have a polluted, stagnant pond with no movement, a sedentary life, in order to clean it up, you need consistent energy pumped into the system. And you can think of it just like this fountain that was established in order to clean up that stagnant pool of water. It brought life into the system. It brought oxygen into it. Here in Florida, Biscayne Bay, all the fish are dying. And you know why? There's no oxygen in the water. Most likely it's because of all the lawn care treatments and pesticides, but whatever they finally figure out, there's not enough oxygen in the water and everything is dying. They actually have the fire trucks drive up and down with the hoses because they're doing exactly what the picture on the right is. They are pumping energy, pumping oxygen into the water, doing it consistently over time and getting clean benefits, cleaning up the system. We live in a polluted world, whether it's food, water, air, the electromagnetic field, and the only way to ensure the body is optimally functioning in a prime manner is having a body like the picture of the water here on the right, where energy is being pumped into the system and the body is able to clean itself up. So this will bring us to the second step required. So the first one is easy. When you're talking about any health objective, the first task is consistency. And that will get your new user, whoever you're working with, through the first month, the first 2 months of using it. And with consistent use, if their health objective is going to be met, it will be met with consistent use. So you're also going to be creating happy users because you're showing them the path to benefits. As Terry Willis says, you're showing them the path to value. This is why you paid the price you paid for this unit, because the magic is it's actually giving you life. It's giving you a spark. It's putting all of this into your system. And you know what happens when people are anxious, when people are stressed, when people are sad, when people are depressed, when people eat poor food, when people don't exercise, your spark diminishes. And those are occurrences when you really need to use PMF. And that is value. Water. That's the second requirement. First one, consistency. Second one, water. You need to be hydrated. We are 70% water. We're not 70% soda. We're not 70% tea. We're not 70% coffee, which is the one I'm challenged with. We are 70% water. You need to put clean water into your body because the magnetic field parameter interacts with the water and is more effective and efficient when the body is properly hydrated. And you could see the effects on the previous slide, what happens when you pump energy into water. People always say water. Now, if I'm using the hybrid, what temperature do I use? How do I know the temperature of the hybrid? So the first thing I would like to clear is the intended use of the hybrid. The intended use of the hybrid is not to use far infrared to have you sweat all over your iMRS prime. The intended use of the hybrid is microns, is energy, is waves. And those waves, that radiant energy being transferred from the hybrid mode, hexagon mat, is interacting with the radiant transfer from your body. When healers are able to heal with their hands, that is far infrared. That is radiant transfer. Their hand is using far infrared radiant heat in order to provide healing. You can do that with your body. Now, in the modern age, with everything that we are at, there's a limited number of people who are able to accomplish that. That is why we have MedTech. That is why we have the OMNIUM, the iMRS Prime. So consistency, hydration, and if you're using the hybrid, how do you do the temperature? And I was in the grocery store and I was like, there you go, instant cake. If you're explaining to a user or you've purchased one and you're trying to figure out what temperature do I use the hybrid at, think of a boxed cake. With a boxed cake, all you have to do is dump it, add water, and put it in the oven at the designated temperature. Anyone who's ever baked a cake knows increasing the temperature does not make a better cake, and it does not speed baking. So the temperature increasing has no correlation in this aspect when you go above the range in providing benefits. The radiant transfer from the hybrid is designed to interact with the PMF, where you can do it on a more non-invasive level by using a mesh of energies that are inspired by nature. Radiant energy, radiant transfer, far infrared comes from the sun. PMF, the energies, the frequencies come from the magnetosphere, the ionosphere, the Schumann resonance, the oceans. There is a mesh of energies, of resonant frequencies interacting with humans all the time. So you can think about it like this. The genius of the iMRS Prime is it's combining all of those energies that are inspired by nature to holistically provide them to the user. So with the box cake, when somebody says, what temperature do I use? You just think of a cake. A cake, you have a specific temperature range, because if you adjust it thinking, well, I'm running out of time, so let me just double the temperature and the cake will bake twice as fast. It does not work that way. And healing does not work that way either. But it is so simple, because you just add water and you lay and you bake on your hybrid mat. And you could select any temperature from that range, because the inventor only put selections that provide benefit to you. So you cannot choose a wrong temperature. You do not need the perfect temperature, because the waves of the microns interact with the far infrared that is coming from your body. So there is a holistic mesh with the PMF and the interaction with the cells. And on a side note, I was reading some research about various uses of high intensity devices within cancer. High intensity is used within cancer because they're using high intensity to punch holes in cell membranes. So if you're somebody who messes around with high intensity devices, you better know what you're doing. But with the iMRS Prime and any PMF unit from Swiss Bionic Solutions, it is ingeniously simple. Wolfgang has always said, just lie down. And it is 100% advice. If you lie down, if you use those local applicators consistently for a 4 to 6 week timeline, you will have met the criteria to achieve all of the health benefits simultaneously that PMF provides, but it requires consistency. And selecting the temperature, to give you an example, all the options for the temperature are perfectly aligned to bake the cake. So remember, consistency, water, you do not need perfection. And the temperature is already at the optimal range. Whether you like the higher temperature or the lower temperature setting is all preference. So select your preference, add water, and bake consistently. And you will achieve your health goals, your health outcomes. The reason why the temperatures are all within the appropriate setting with the iMRS Prime Hybrid correlates to the homeodynamic ability of a biological system to affect, that can be affected by different stressors. So you can think of the stressor as the temperature. So when the temperature is increasing, you can get a little bit benefit. But if too much stressor hits the system, it becomes a weakening effect. It becomes a hindrance. And this is an easy example. Think of the beach in the summer. When it's an 80-degree day, you can lie on the beach and enjoy it for hours. If it's 95 degrees with a heat wave warning, you may only be on the beach in 15 minutes before that heat before the sun becomes a stressor. When the sun is at 80 degrees, you can be on the beach much, much longer because the sun is not so much as a stressor on your body. So that is exactly why you have an optimal range of temperatures. So no matter what temperature you're selecting, you are not able to provide anything that would stress the body beyond the normal homeodynamic measures. And that is genius. That means that all you have to do is select your preference and lie down. That's it. There is no perfect temperature. All you need is consistent use. The hexagon sense. This is one of the most fascinating areas that I have been working on in regards to the iMRS Prime, because again, sometimes I just have to stop and I'm amazed at how simple this system is, but the magic, the complexity that is happening without you needing to do anything is astonishing. You really are getting the breath of life when you use your iMRS Prime. And for all of those who have the hexagon sense, which utilizes heart rate variability in order to provide a more dynamic intensity, is like autonomic system training. And I'm gonna go into this a little bit more and explain it a little bit more here to you. But the hexagon sense is like lifting weights. It's like repetitions for your autonomic nervous system. So just like you would lift weights, change up the repetitions, you would do the same with the intensity, and the hexagon sense does it automatically. Now, I also want to touch base real quick here on the sensor. We get a lot of questions too with the full service support about the sensor. With these types of sensors, the first thing you always need to think to yourself is, what is it doing, or what does it need from me in order to get usable signal from my body? And on this picture here on the right, you can see it's basically sending light into the body, and it is reading blood flow. Now, if we go back to the possible benefits, are increased circulation. A lot of people use the iMRS Prime and the Omni to improve their circulation. Well, the sensor needs circulation in the fingertip. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, maybe I need to warm my finger up. Stimulate the blood flow in my finger in order to get a good quality signal. So the first thing you always want to ask yourself before you start to question whether the device is working is the device able to send the light to the blood flow in my capillary and get a readable signal? Many variants can deter this. It could be because you're very cold and you have poor blood flow in your extremities, and it may take a little bit on the PMF in order to induce that blood flow. That's why some people may get default or averaged readings in the beginning until the system goes. It does not mean the system is defective. Just like my email froze up the other day and it started spinning and spinning and spinning. I did not call Apple and say, I need a whole new computer, this one's defective. I troubleshooted. And the great thing about those who have the full service Prime, you have an individual at your email who is able to troubleshoot these things and point them out. And we had a wonderful case study with Dr. Bill, who we've been working with each other for probably several years now. And we had an excellent case study with him and his records management. And these are some of the areas that we had reviewed. It could be that when you have a different movement, that light from the outside comes in and it interferes with that red flashing light that's trying to read the blood flow in your capillary. It could be that your hands are sweaty. It could be that your blood flow isn't hitting the extremities at this point. It could be that there's oil or lotion on the light sensor on the device. There are several variants which could be causing data not to be interpreted. And this is normal. It's called artifacts. And the greatest thing is that the iMRS Prime has been built to eliminate these artifacts in order to provide the quality data. So keep in mind, there's a lot of variants that go into this. Also, this is designed to be measured when you're in a lying, calm position, not when you're standing up, pointing fingers. You need to be laying down. So if you stand in front of the device and you have the sensor on, and then you move to lie down, that could inhibit the signal, the reading, because it could have brought light in, the movement could shift. The light trying to detect the flow in the capillaries may not have induced the signal. So always keep that in mind. It may not always be the device. It could just be you need to induce simply circulation before the device can get readable measures. Now, let us go to where we were speaking before, where we were talking about autonomic nervous system training. It's so simple. We are in an environment where we need to be able to really detect the subtle vibrations. I was watching this hunting show the other day, and it was all talking about this buck. And this buck was able to elude hunters for years and years and years. And everybody wanted to be able to get this buck, but it eluded the hunter because that buck had resident instincts. It could feel the vibrations of the hunter before the hunter even saw the buck. And that is why it was able to elude the hunter for years. Resident instincts. And consistent use of the hexagon sense will create resident instincts just like that buck within you. You will be able to pick up subtle vibrations, energy. Think of this. You're walking on the beach in Palos Verdes. There is Wi-Fi, there is satellite, there is 5G, all interfering, creating a soup that is clogging the ability for the body to actually resonate with these naturally inspired frequencies within the environment. If you have resident instincts, your body is tuned. Your body is a polished piece of instrument and able to detect what we are through modern industrial society blocking out, diminishing. And that is what is so important for all of those who love nature, who love to be outside, who love to go walking on the beach. To get the most optimal benefit, you need resident instincts. You need to be able to pick up those subtle vibrations, and consistent use of the hexagon sense will provide that. And it's so simple. All you have to do is lay down and check for one thing: variability. These two slides here are an illustration of what I consider variability and what I consider not enough variability. So you are training your autonomic nervous system, and this is how it happens. The intensity, the pulses are delivered through the body, and the autonomic nervous system, the peripheral nervous system begins to detect these pulses in the environment. And it's like, okay, what is this? Okay, I sense it. And then the minute the body senses it, there is an adjustment in the heart rate variability. And the minute the heart rate variability adjusts, the intensity adjusts. And then the body has to do this again, and then it again. And all of this variability is, you can think of it as repetitions. And any weightlifter knows you need to mix up the weights. And just like the hexagon sense, it's mixing up the intensity. The intensity is kind of like weights. If you are a weightlifter, if you're going to the gym, if you take the same dumbbells and you do 10 reps every day, your muscles will plateau. You will no longer get any benefit. And that is the ingenious, the simplicity of the hexagon sense. You just put it on your finger. And if you look on the upper head of the graph next to the heart rate on the left, it says 93, and then you have the heart. When you look at this graph, when you first start, that's all you need to check. Is that heart beating? Because if that heart is beating on your screen, your sensor's working. Next thing you have to do is just lie down. Do not look at the screen, particularly if you're a person who's gonna be stressed out by the readings, because you just sabotage your PMF session. And I'm gonna explain to you why. When you stress out, you are unnecessarily engaging your sympathetic nervous system, your fight and flight, your fight and flight. So now you are fighting the field. You are fighting the PMF field, because to get the optimal benefits, you need to relax. You need to reduce stress levels, but you are psychologically inducing stress levels. So you are sabotaging your PMF. So if the numbers on the screen give you heartache, don't look at them. All you need to look at is the heart. Is it beating? The sensor's working. Lie down. You follow the first rule, consistency. You follow the second rule, water, hydration. And the third rule, breathe. Oxygen. You need oxygen into your body. You need to do deep breathing. This will also help relax the body. This will also help engage more of the parasympathetic nervous system. So treat yourself well. If the SpO2 reading is going to give you heartache, it's going to set you off, don't look at it. If you have to put a Post-it over the screen, put a Post-it over the screen. There's nothing that should keep you from increasing the span of health. And if that reading on a screen inhibits your PMF, then put a Post-it on it, because you're sabotaging yourself, and you have to stop sabotaging yourself. So to get the best benefits from the PMF, because the inventor of this almost made it so simple, people can't believe it's this simple, so they don't focus on the simplicity and they focus on complexity. But it is so simple. Whatever your health benefit is, all you need to add is consistency, which is time, water, and you need to be able to calm down and stop sabotaging your PMF session. And you also, when you're speaking to other health objectives, whether it is somebody like myself who is using PMF to, as my own testimony, prevent any type of prostate issues. Because from reading and from the last 10 years of talking to various men who utilize PMF for prostate issues, inadequate blood flow is one of the #1 contributors to prostate issues. So if I can minimize any type of inadequate blood flow to the prostate, there is probabilities I can minimize any type of prostate issues. But again, I'm working more in the prevention, utilizing all of this to prevent any type of chronic diseases that come with aging. And I am focused on slowing down the aging process. So to recap, consistent use. The temperature on the far infrared, it's just like baking a cake. And the iMRS Prime does not allow you to select a temperature that will destroy your cake. So choose your preference. You do not want to sweat all over your iMRS Prime. The far infrared is not intended to be used to induce sweat. The far infrared is intended to be used to induce the microns, the waveforms from the far infrared into the body. If you want to use far infrared to sweat, you need to talk to somebody about a far infrared sauna. But with the PMF, with the far infrared mat, it is not designed for you to sweat all over it. It is designed to add energy, frequencies, vibrations, in order to create that mesh of energy that helps heal the body that is inspired by nature.